Thanks for joining us on Insight. A couple of years back, the word transformation agenda was very, very popular. It moved on to the change mantra. And now we're expecting next level. Change mantra, same administration, next level. Huge. Is it next level for better administration? Next level for sustained administration? Next level for continuity? That should be the focus on discussion segment on Insight. And on media review?
Yeah, and on media review this week, we shall be taking a look at compliance to public opinion through the eyes of the media. Now, we have a case study. The National Assembly has actually put in place conditions to reduce the number of journalists coming into the facility. How will this work, and what lessons would other sectors learn from this? My guest will be answering questions on that.
Okay, it was highly a thorny and controversial matter.
A very tough one.
And I hear, before we got to that, it has been put on hold.
Yes.
Not suspended, put on hold.
On hold.
Maybe it may come out hotter or softer. Well, that's that on Insight. Up next on the program is the discussion segment. Change matter to the next level. Don't go away. In the military parlance, they will say change of guard. When we come to the civil environment, we use the word inauguration. We have a new administration that is coming in with a term of 4 years. And what we are going to be discussing here is, it came in 2015 with the change matter, focused primarily on anti-corruption, the economy, and the threats, security threats in Nigeria. Now, entering the second term, they transmitted from change matter to next level. What next level are we going to see as the government begins a new journey for the next 4 years? My guest is a lawyer, policy analyst, the Vice Chairman, Buhari Media Organization, BMO, Aliyu Abdullahi. Thanks for joining me on Insight.
Thank you for having me, Omini.
Okay. Attorney, non-profit professional, Susan Henshaw.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you.
I appreciate it.
So, lady and gentlemen, will you say a transmission? Is it a transition? Is it a metamorphose process? Change matter, next level. Let me start with Aliyu.
Well, it's a continuity, actually. That's the right word I think we should use here. Why do I say it's a continuity? Because it's from same administration to same administration, meaning that the actual, the head of the government remained the same. And I don't think his agenda that he came in with in 2015 has fundamentally shifted from what he's going to actually do right now. If you can recall, Omini, during his campaign, he has said it consistently that those three platforms he campaigned on, that's the security issues, the economy, improving the economy, and fighting corruption, is still, it's still relevant to the country. And that's what he is still campaigning on. But, of course, what is different is he intends to take it to the next level. Now that's where the question arises. What is the next level? What will be different from what happened in the last level to now that we are stepping into the next level? Of course, we are going to see meaning improvements on all these three key areas. If, for example, in the last level, the government, let's take infrastructure, for example. If they have generated, an addition, they made, let's say, power supply. They made it at 2.something thousand megawatts. They generated to 7,000, even though distribution is hovering about between 4,000 to 5,000. We intend to see with the Mambila hydropower projects and other power projects across the country, and the transmission, the money that was sunk into the transmission, we intend to see a larger generation of power and transmission and distribution as well. So don't forget, in 2015 is different than now. Before 2015, this country, we have never budgeted more than 30% of the entire budget on capital expenditure, meaning we we have failed to invest heavily in the infrastructure, in the capital project, in the 16 years that we had before 2015. So, but after 2015, we began to see an improved, budgeting, release of fund and spending on capital project, on infrastructures. For the first time, we have seen a government, in the first budget, they spent about 1.3 trillion. The second one, 1.5 trillion. Now, another 1.7 trillion. If you aggregate that in the 4 years that they have, that means we're seeing about 5.something trillion going into what? Going into the economy, especially the infrastructures, meaning roads, rail, hospitals, education, and other things that will affect the generality of Nigerians, the 200 million Nigerians, not only the few that were that are in the government service. So now we're definitely going to see a difference in service delivery from the government because of the funds injected over the last 4 years that we don't normally have it before. So now things will be different. And of course they need to be, because let's face it, there are challenges, myriads of challenges. Is it the economy? We know we came out from recession, and we need to grow our GDP, our economy. Yes, we are growing at about 2.4% right now, but we needed to grow more than that. And also not only growing more than that, but we want it to be, to reflect the actual, to the reality on the ground, for common man to really feel the impact of that growth. And that can only be possible if what the president and the administration intends to do in the next level are successful, because otherwise we'll continue to grow it on paper, but then the impact would not be felt. That's on economy. On the big elephant in the room, that's the security. We all know the present security challenges in the country. We came out, yes, the last level, the administration fought a serious battle of insurgency. It was miraculously, and I mean it was fought well, because I remember how proud I was when I visited out of the country. I was in Europe, one of the countries. I think it was in a forum in Germany, and some people walked up to me and asked me that they are interested to see how we actually fought terrorism to almost a halt that time. You remember, immediately after the administration came, about 1-2 years. And I said, yeah, maybe I can link you up with our Department of the Defense in the country, because then it's a thing of pride that this administration could fight insurgency to almost a standstill. But then we know how the story changes. Soon after that, the headsmen and farmers clashes come. Then now we have banditry and kidnapping. These are real life security challenges, and I expect the next level, this level that we're just witnessing, will focus serious attention. I mean, change of strategies of how things are done. Perhaps we're going to see change of leaderships of in some of the agencies that are responsible to get things done. Because let's face it, I want a hungry man in a position who will deliver results for me. That's me. It doesn't mean that the person that is there is doing badly or is not doing it well. It's just that he may not be incentivized as someone who is hungry that can come and give me a result quicker in much quicker time, and in perhaps much quicker pace. Okay. So I expect the next level will address these security challenges. Perhaps then we will put the issue of banditry, kidnapping behind us. Okay,
Susan.
Yes.
Inclusivity and integrity. Mr. President has assured Nigerians that things may not be as easy as they were, and that he will be more inclusive, and also he will engage people of integrity. What do you make of this?
Well, I think that first let me back up a little bit. Next level pretty much means that we're done with our rookie years. The APC is done with its rookie years, and now it's time to consolidate, not only to consolidate, but to really push forward. Now, as far as inclusivity, which the president talked about in this next level, I want to hope that that includes, or that means, that he's going to bring in a more diversified, team with him. Women, of course, what's going to go there. Women, there'll be more women included in his government. There'll be more young people. There'll be the inflow of, new and preferably better ideas.
Yes.
There'll be things done differently. There'll be shake-ups, I think that the prior 4 years, we've actually, or should I say, they've actually needed to maintain what was there, let's not forget that this government, the APC government, is spanking brand new. It was spanking brand new in 2015, And when I kind of think about the implications of that, it's really huge, that a spanking brand new government would come in, and with all the challenges it had, insurgency, it had a flattering economy, and all of these things didn't just drop from the sky. They'd been there, and getting incrementally worse over the years, The economy, for example, there's no denying, and I'm sure that, in the public parlance, we've argued back and forth about the fact that APC came and this government came and brought the recession. But, factually speaking, and, it really doesn't happen like that. Recessions don't drop from the sky upon a government. Things have been happening that led up to that. We're well aware of all those facts, in spite of the rhetoric. So I'm really hoping that, now that this new government has had 4 years, it's going into, a whole new level now. It's going to really no longer worry about making those kind of rookie mistakes he made, but it's going to really, like I said, shake things up. Okay. The judiciary, so far so good. There's so much optimism going into this new level with the judiciary. Needless going into details, okay. But with the judiciary, and this happens all over the world, is the arm of government that wants everything on the outside to look great, to look corruption proof and all of that. And the judiciary takes time to make sure its image is good. And the downside of that is that there's so much rot, beneath the surface. So this second level, should I say this next level, is going to be one where things are kind of shaken up a little bit, Integrity would be number one. Appointments and what else should be based really on people who have not just the skills to do the job and the experience, but who have proven record of being, people of solid character. So that's what we're looking forward to this next level.
Okay. Still looking at integrity. In the last regime that is gone, we're having a new one now. We had the president of the African Development Bank, a Nigerian, and very strategic too. We also had our former Minister of Environment becoming the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations. That was a huge plus for Nigeria. And if we have people of this caliber at the international level, beside the fact that Nigeria remains the big brother Africa, no matter the mistakes here and there, we still remain that. Let's look at public governance as we have a next level government come on board. There's been a lot of under-declaration of public assets by people who take up public office. And now we expect with the inauguration of a new government at the national, at the state, at the arms of government, as they take their turns, what will we speak to regarding asset declaration so that maybe people will learn their lessons? Let me take on that, Aliyu. Because it's a huge problem. We have relegated it, and if Mr. President, like Susan said, hinges on integrity, integrity starts from honesty.
Well, very true, actually. I mean, it's actually mandatory for anybody that is going to public service, no matter the kind of style, or let me say process, you're getting to that place, whether through election or through appointment, you are mandated to actually declare your asset, for example, under the Code of Conduct Bureau, Code of Conduct Acts, which is also constitution, part of the constitution. So the problem is most of the people don't really make it public. It's not required, it's not a requirement of law for that to be made public. And then it creates this kind of that perception that things are not being done in a transparent way. The president, however, and the his deputy, they have made their own public, like they promised to do during the campaign. And I believe now that they are going into the second time in office, or they have gone into the second time, they will still repeat the same thing, so that Nigerians will see how have their assets changed between last 4 years to now. So I think they will do that. So that is one. Secondly, I will speak to the issue of also the government empowering the necessary agencies to carry out their work. The Code of Conduct Bureau, for example, we had from the recent case of the retired or suspended or fired CGN, Justice CGN Walter Onogen, what some of the testimony that comes from the members or the staff of the Code of Conduct Bureau. You know, sometimes when you fill these forms and send it over to them, instead of them to actually immediately raise a team to go and verify what you submitted in terms of asset, cash, bank accounts, and things like that, they don't do it for donkey years. It's kept there, lying there, until someone somewhere tried to petition or try to, on their own, did their own investigation and find that there is evidence of wrongdoing and petition the Bureau before you see them springing into action. We cannot continue to have that, because if a body like Code of Conduct Bureau can be fully functional, I assure you, EFCC and ICPC, they will become even redundant, because CCB could be enough tool to deal with corruption in the public service. Because before you come, they must know what you're coming with. And if you are living, they must know what you're living. And once the difference do not tally with what you actually legitimately earn as a government worker, you know, then they can go after you. So I think government in some way, in some form, they have to do something about it. Then again also, I think Mr. President, like Susan said, has something to do with it also. We all know him. I mean, this is someone who has internationally acclaimed, accepted to be a man of integrity. There is no matter what someone will say, even the most hardest critics of the president will have to give him that. A man of integrity from the United States, from African Union, from everywhere. So I would love to believe that he will, part of the criteria, fundamentally, apart from the merit, you know, basic qualifications, proven integrity is one of the cardinal thing or factor he will look in people that he will appoint. And not only cabinet members, I'm not talking about the cabinet members alone, but Mr. President should take a keen interest, because the cabinet members, they are mere supervisors in the affairs of governance in Nigeria. But heads of departments, agencies, they actually get the ball rolling when we talk about governance in the country. So Mr. President needs to also pay a keen interest. These are appointments not only that shouldn't be left to ministers to handle. They are Mr. President's appointment. I know, yes, leaders can delegate, but please, when leaders delegate, let them follow it with supervision. And in matters of appointment, you shouldn't even delegate, but you can source, you can consult widely, get advice left, right, and center, you know, but they shouldn't be handed over totally to someone or to some group of people to do. The president must have a keen interest on who serves, you know, as the Director General of Agency XYZ, you know, and even after that, he should occasionally have a supervisory role that he will handle it personally without delegating that supervision role. That is the only way, you know, we can get some of these things you are talking about, integrity in the public service right. For example, if you recall, the first level, 2015, post May 2019, May 29, 2015, can you recall what happened? Civil servants. The next week, the week after that swearing in, everybody start coming to work 7:30, 8 a.m. at most. They said it's a new dawn. People were scared. They said the body language. This president would not tolerate anything below the standard of law, what the law require and all the etiquettes and condition of service of various MDS require. People, I saw it, I dropped, I saw the Federal Secretariat, people were thronging, running, rushing to get into office before 7:30 because they had the president who was in office 7 a.m. The same thing, meanwhile, happened in 1999 with Chief Olusegun Obasanjo when he actually came into office. So, but, you know, gradually, you will see when people, you know, don't see that personal supervision go into issue of governance, we tend to resort to our old ways of doing things. But this, we said, shouldn't happen because change is here. And we say, change begins with me. That with me, you know, I had so many people having a comparative analysis of who does this change begin with? Is it the leadership or the followers? No. The moment you say change begins with me, whether you are the leader or the follower, automatically you are saying it has to be me. So change begins with the president, change begins with the director, change begins with the minister, change begins with the cleaner in that in that office, and definitely even change begins with me, with you in the private sector. Be you a laborer, be you the CEO of a construction company.
Okay, thank you. Now, still on next level, you know, when certain persons speak or become objectively critical, people are worried. Let's look at social protection. The wife of the president at a public function raised concerns at the manner at which the social protection initiative of this administration was handled. She said not that it did not succeed, but the manner at which they handled it in some states of the federation was very, very disappointing. What should be done?
And interestingly, I just
coming
had this,
from her.
Yeah, interestingly, I just had this argument, you know, with a few people before, you know, I came to this. Now, here's the thing. Unless anybody can unequivocally say that there is no error, there's no, that the SIPs are run to absolute perfection, then nobody better fault the First Lady. Now, the way it works is that she represents, whether we like it or not, official or unofficial, a constituency, especially of women and children.
Absolutely.
And she bears that entire burden. Yes, she bears that entire burden. And from what I hear, I've never met her, she takes that responsibility personally. Now, pardon me, if people are not happy that she came out in public and said, my constituents, you know, have had complaints here and there regarding how the social intervention programs are running, especially up in the north. Now, subsequent to her making that speech, you know, a lot of people have come out and say, oh, the records were available, she should have looked at them. And I said, in spite of that, which of these people can tell me that when she came out and said, you know, my constituents have complaints, that either she fabricated that or no constituent exists that, let's say, wanted to access the market money in Kano or in Adamawa, and everything ran smoothly to 100% perfection, but the First Lady still came out and complained about it. No. We know how things are in this country. People would always come up with a few records here and there. But go beneath the surface a little bit, you'd find out that a lot of the intended beneficiaries are not really getting what they want. Now, does that mean the program has failed or the SIPs have failed? No, that's that brings me really to the intervention of the press, you know. Now, changing a little bit of what somebody said can cause a whole lot of problems. You know, when they said, the First Lady said the social intervention programs have failed, that statement was very faulty. You know, it was a very faulty generalization, really. You know, she cited specific examples, you know, and for well-intended people, what we needed to do was to go and say, you know what, let's look into what these complaints are. Let's crunch the numbers and actually factually come out, you know, with the percentages of the beneficiaries, especially in the northern states where she mentioned, you know. But what I've kind of heard, and I'm speaking from my heart really on this issue, what we've kind of heard is a lot of trying to say, oh, a woman is criticizing her husband in public, she shouldn't do that. What about her constituents? What exactly is the high risk the president stands to bear, you know, when his wife speaks out about women that can access loans for their own empowerment?
Well, let me look at speaking out objectively and
absolutely
subjectively or unobjectively. What is wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing, in my understanding. A little embarrassment that, the government, you know, has touted its SIP programs. But here's the truth. I always kind of cite, you know, other countries just so that we have some sort of a comparison.
Okay.
The United States has been running, and I'm sure I've mentioned this on this program at an earlier time, has been running what we call the, which are really an equivalent of the social intervention programs we have, the welfare system. You know, the welfare programs, which includes housing, includes cash money, it includes other benefits, food stamps, that's where you go with a voucher to buy food for free and that kind of thing. And until this day, 200 and something odd years after, the program is still being tweaked around. People are still criticizing the welfare program. They're still trying to make it right. So how dare we, after 2 years or 2.5 years, think that the First Lady should shut up about coming out to say, program needs to be tweaked to fit my constituents in the North? How dare anybody, you know? Like I said, when you put it on a scale of loss and benefit and risk, what does the president stand to lose by a few moments of the opposition yapping about the fact that the SIPs have failed? No, they haven't, as a matter of fact. And that's what, you know, people in this government and supporters of this government need to stand up and say. The SIPs have not failed. Kids are being fed in schools. That's working quite fine. You know, people are getting trader money. People are getting market money. People are getting Empower. You know, it's still hiring people, you know, and training them. Conditional cash transfers are still going on, you know. All of that didn't just poof and disappear because the First Lady came and spoke from her heart about her constituents. Let's get that categorically straight. So our position should be like
a message to those managing the...
Absolutely. You know, absolutely. And we can twig it as much as we want to say she's criticizing her husband in public. And I'll probably do the same thing. I'm sorry, you know.
Okay,
so.
I'd like, let's move on.
Yeah.
From what she has just said, let's come over to security. If you take a look at the three cardinal things that brought Mr. President hinged on during the change matter, moving on to the next level, was anti-corruption, security, and the economy. Security has become of a concern lately, despite so much have been done, to a point that for the first time, the president had to extend the stay of the security chiefs. This is the first time it's happening. As soon as it's your time, you leave. But it's been of a concern, as though government is not doing enough. What would have been the problem?
Thank you, Omi. You see, let me get this thing straight. The truth of the matter is government is doing a lot when it comes to the security. There is no doubt about that. Some people may not know, because all we want at the end of the day is not the statistic of what you do, but the result on the ground. We want to see the killing stopped. We want to see the end of kidnapping. We want to see no more banditry. We don't want to see another Boko Haram bomb going off somewhere. That's what the citizens wanted, and that's, in fact, it's the primary responsibility and a function of the government is to protect people and their properties. So anything short of that, people will think the government has failed in its responsibility, or has come short, or is not doing enough, or some may go to the extreme and say the government is not doing nothing. But that is not true, because we know the government is doing much. We have seen it. If you follow current affairs, news and things like that, you will see many things the government is trying. For example, the cooperation, the task forces between Nigerian police force and the military, you know, in all these flashpoints. There is virtually no zone, no geopolitical zone in Nigeria that doesn't have one form of security challenge going on or another. That's the truth. Our military is stretched in. Traditionally, what's the role of the military? It's to protect, you know, the country from external aggression, you know, meaning that their role shouldn't be within the country traditionally, should be outside there, you know, waiting to see if someone wants to threaten any part of the country. But now, look at what the military has done, has become. They are in the country everywhere. They are stretched too thin. The Nigerian police force were not really well manned, you know, and well equipped. We have about 400, let's say 350 police force, and that's far below what even the United Nations recommended. You know, we are a country of about 200 million citizens. So, and even part of that, how many of those police were going for BIP escort and things like that? So now, with all those attendant challenges, the government found out they have to tweak some of the challenges. The current security challenges to the country is in the Northwest. We are just coming up from the North Central. We know we have discussed the, you know, North Central issue.
Countless times.
Countless Operation Aya Akpatuma. Yeah, and honestly, now, if me and you were to review that, you remember when it was very hot in Benue?
Absolutely.
If I say, you know, government is doing something, I'm sure I can see your face also even twitches small. Like, what the hell is this guy really saying? And I'm sure the viewers also were wondering then, come on, this guy, Aliyu, when he comes, he just speaks for the government. That is all. But now, let's review it. You see, Benue, was it before? Was it the same like that 1.5 years ago? No, we have seen a significant reduction in the killings that we used to witness in Benue, Nasarawa, you know, that place, right? That means at that time when we said the government was doing something, they were actually doing something. And now people can see the result. Yes, it's not over. There are still some challenges, but you can see the significant reduction. Now the new challenge are two. Kidnapping in the Northwest, either between Abuja to Kaduna roads, and even within Katsina State, and even within the cities, and the big elephants banditry in the Northwest from Zamfara to Katsina, and that is really some serious menace. Now, there are so many change of tactics by this police. One example is they wanted to go community policing, and you know where community policing belongs to? Next level. That is the next level security. Community policing meaning they're going to engage people directly from communities, people that were known, trusted by their respective communities, put forward by their traditional leaders. Traditional leaders are going to have roles to play and things like that. And these people, they will know, because let's say it, these criminals, these people giving us these security problems, they don't just drop from the sky. They are part and parcel of our societies. We know them. They are our brothers. They are our neighbors. But some communities have problem identifying them, pointing them out. So imagine the success we're going to have if we have community policing. People, when you know the MO, that is the modus operandi of that person, and you saw something happen, and that can only be done by Mr. A or Mr. B. Look at recently the kind of people, about more than 95 persons were paraded by the Nigerian police force on the issue of the kidnapping along Kaduna-Abuja Road. They were all members of one town called Regina, where is almost the hot spot, when you're traveling between Abuja to Kaduna. How comes this amount of people all from one small town? Where was the community? Where was the traditional head that they didn't know such a number of people coming from your community that are doing this issue? Okay. They were the ones that actually kidnapped the UBEC chairman, Dr. Mohammed Abubakar. Now, so imagine with the community policy, even the issue of banditry will be a thing of the past. Okay. And this community policy, don't forget, they are going to be drawn. Some of them are part of the vigilantes. Right. They will be made into constables. Some of them are from the neighbor watch hood and things like that. They will be trained, and it will add to the strength, to the number of the police force, because they will become automatic members of the Nigerian police force. So I think that is a strategy that we will likely see will work. Some people will say we'll be too in haste or rush to say no. What we need first is restructure the country. This country is too big to be policed federally. Yeah. I say to these people, do not be pessimistic.
So we should say that hope is not lost.
We should be optimistic. I see a lot of things getting worked. I have seen Air Force giving their cooperation to the ground troops, to the army and the police. They have recently established a base in Birningwari. So although, like I told you at the beginning of this topic, what is to be done, of course, more funding. Okay. More funding, that's the truth. Okay. Because I talk with the military people, and they always talk about this issue. Their leaders may not be telling Mr. President perhaps the entire truth, but the truth is, in Nigeria, our security or defense budget is too small. Okay. We need more funding, more money for equipment, and more money for personnel welfare.
Before we wrap up this session, when this administration came in 2015, huge expectation, and if there's a word bigger than huge, I will use it now. Yeah. As the government is being inaugurated, the expectations are also huge. Yeah. How could this be managed as they are coming on board?
Yeah, I honestly really think that, if I'm to back up to 2015, the expectations were very huge. In fact, if you recall, even the president himself, I remember that we were in a function where the president was speaking, and he said, I'm afraid of the kind of expectation, out of this world kind of expectation that these people, my people have of me, And I think two things have happened. People have now realized that it's one thing to have expectations. It's another thing to understand the realities on ground. Wherever those expectations were coming from, I think that at this point, we're now beginning to understand that there are going to be challenges regardless. Those challenges are not going to be static. They're going to change as we move along, because everything else is changing. Our numbers are increasing per day. In 2015, we were still saying we have 185 million people. It's been 4 years, and now everybody has pretty much agreed that we are almost at a little over 200 million, And as things change, as all the indices change, our expectations must change. The way we solve problems must change. you know, and we have to keep managing them and twigging things around and doing things differently, you know, and moving along. And Nigerians need to understand that this is really not peculiar to us, you know. Every nation has its own problems. You know, we have problems now that this government inherited. We have to be also honest, you know, in saying that we have problems that have cropped up on us, you know, and the best way to deal with it is to continue changing, working, putting money where money requires, you know, having, what do they say now, when you're thinking on your feet. That's what this government has to do, you know. This bandits and all of these people, it might not be banditry tomorrow, it might be something else. You know, it might be car theft.
From one level to the other.
From one level to the other. And these things happen even in civilized nations, you know. It happens that all of a sudden car theft would go up, you know, they call it auto whatever, you know, would go up, and then next time is the murder figures would go up, you know, and communities or the police has to keep dealing with these things as they arise. Okay. You know, we're not any different from that, you know. We have very peculiar problems, which is, you know, like very high unemployment and very, really honestly, substandard education. You know, the literacy level is illiteracy level is very high. We have all those things, but saying that nothing is being done, you know, that's a whole different thing, you know, and that's typically an opposition position. So we're not even going to talk about that. We're going to talk about real life and what's going on. The army is fighting, our boys are dying, you know, moms are crying, you know, they're losing their sons because these people are out there sacrificing their lives for us. So when I read somewhere or I see somebody come on TV and say nothing is being done, you're not impugning the president. You're impugning people whose lives are at the forefront of the war. Okay. You know?
Thank you, Aliyu Abdullahi. Always a pleasure having you on this side.
Same here.
And also Susan Henshaw.
Thank you so much.
And what will you say to the new government as they come on board?
Well,
last word, just the last word.
Oh, okay, I mean, best of luck, but actually this is the time that Mr. President has to think about the kind of legacy he's going to leave that Nigerians are going to remember him by.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no.
Up next on Insight is the media review segment. Don't go away.